Hi, everyone. We're going to give, I think, a minute or so for everyone to join. And we're very excited. I'm very excited to do this with Columbia Business School. I went to Columbia about a decade back, and it's always very special, reconnecting. I don't get as much time often to kind of, engage with the business school, but, over and over, I have just sent a lot of amazing folks to Columbia, and, I'm just so happy to do this. Um, All right. We already have a good number of attendees. And I guess let's get started. Should we just get started? All right. So welcome everyone. In the interest of time, we're going to get started because we do anticipate a lot of questions. If you have questions, please keep them, coming. Just keep posting them in the chat box. And, after all the presentations are over, we'll be happy to take that. So I'm very excited to welcome you all to this series, Inside Access series, where we're going live with Columbia Business School. I have Josie Landers with me, and I'm going to introduce her just in a second. And they have agreed to do this with the red pen. So I'm just going to tell a little bit about the red pen, introduce myself and our guest today, and then hand over to Josie for everything about Columbia, right? All right. So the Red Pen is, is a 14 plus years, boutique higher education consulting firm, specializing in admissions to the world's top premium undergraduate and postgraduate institutions, MBA boarding schools, undergrad, postgrad, and, also undergrad preparation services. So, students come to us as early as 8th standard, pretty much high school, as you would refer, in US terminology, and we help them develop their profiles and prepare them for rigorous programs to the world's top universities. We also members of multiple professional associations like NACAC, AGAC, IACAC, IECA. I'm on the board of AGAC actually. It's we are 100+ team across, I think around the globe. I would say literally every country, Dubai, Singapore, US, Germany, UK, and we have 100+ team members with 9 nationalities across the world. Our main office is in Mumbai in India. All right, moving on. So just a brief about myself. My name is Preeti Vadekar. I lead the MBA admissions team at the Red Pen. I have been doing this for the last 5 years. It's very exciting to work with very driven, passionate applicants, who are poised to be future business leaders. Business is my passion, which is why I even went to Columbia Business School. And I think my focus at Columbia was about on entrepreneurship and leadership development. And that serves me even today. Even everything which I learned in classroom sitting back then, it still is a voice in my head, which guides a lot of decisions as I lead this business and also another business. I've also had a long corporate career working with brands like Siemens, KPMG, and EY. All right, now moving on to Josie. This is who everyone is actually waiting for. So Josie Landers is an assistant director in the admissions team at Columbia Business School, working primarily on the full-time MBA program, the daytime MBA team. She received her bachelor's from Boston College and earned an MA in higher education in 2023, where she specialized in enrollment management. Josie is passionate about increasing access to graduate education and empowering prospective students realize their personal and professional goal. So Josie, over to you. She's going to talk everything about Columbia Business School. There's so much I want to say, but I'm going to hand it over to her and I will let her cover, I think, the ground, and then we're going to have questions. Keep your questions coming, guys. Over to you, Josie.
Thank you, Preeti, for that lovely introduction. And I'm sure I will pass many questions over to you as an alumnus. You'll have such a great insight. But as she said, that's true. Today, I'm going to really hone in on the full-time MBA. I will touch on other degree programs, but I'm excited to really dive into the full-time MBA admissions process with all of you. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. And all right, perfect. So I'm sure all of you in the audience here have really asked yourself this question and really considered why an MBA? What does this open up for me? And really it is about the opportunities that an MBA can offer for you both personally and professionally. It helps develop that business acumen, that knowledge base, the leadership skill set, but also that salary potential that comes from an Ivy League business school degree. But why Columbia Business School specifically? There's a lot of options that an MBA from CBS offers you unparalleled opportunities, whether that's our expansive alumni network with 52,000 members across the world, including Preeti here, or it's, the world-class faculty that come to teach our students every single day, or it's our location being centered in the heart of New York City, which is the center of so many industries and headquarters for businesses across the world. So having that access here in New York City and through Columbia Business School is such an important advantage to realizing those professional goals. Here at Columbia Business School, we have some pillars that really guide our practice. We want to be on the forefront of developing new business research, and that comes with really adopting new practices in finance, innovative entrepreneurship practices, digital transformation, and then we truly have a huge focus here on climate sustainability and social impact. So you'll really see these reflected into the student organizations that our students are a part of, into the electives that we offer here that we'll talk about in a bit, as well as the careers that our students and our alumni pursue. So that is really put into practice. At Columbia, we have two main entry points for our full-time MBA. So we have the January entry and the August entry. We also have a deferred enrollment program, which is primarily for college seniors. So anyone in the last year of a degree program, it can be actually either undergraduate or graduate. And if you're interested, I really recommend taking a look at a virtual information session on the deferred enrollment program. And we also have an executive MBA. We have 3 models for that, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But as I said, we're really going to talk about that full-time MBA. So we have that August entry. That's that traditional 2-year model, 20 months in total. Our students will come in the fall, they'll complete a full semester of core curriculum. Then in spring, they'll do a mix of core and electives before using their summer to pursue a full-time internship. After their summer internship, they will come back to campus in the fall, complete a full year of electives before graduating in the spring. We usually see about 700 or so students in our August entry, and this can be a really good option for students who are looking to make some kind of change or pivot in their career, as since they use that internship as a springboard into the next steps. We also have a January entry, so this is very unique to Columbia. This is when students come in the spring to start their core, and then instead of doing that full-time internship during the summer, they continue their coursework. They do that mix of core and electives before merging in the fall with the August cohort, completing that year of electives together and graduating side by side in the spring. Since these students don't complete a summer internship, it's usually best for students who are looking to advance in the industry that they're in, maybe return to the firm that they previously came from. So we see a lot of sponsored consultants, a lot of entrepreneurs who are looking to get started on their ventures, as well as a lot of family business students. So this is a really good option for people who are looking to advance their business knowledge. And I'd say we get about 200 or so students in that January entry. But whether you do the August entry or the January entry, I do want to note it's the same curriculum. It's the same MBA that goes on your degree or on your resume. So it's together that makes up the full-time MBA. As I said, you start your first semester with that core curriculum. So this is a really foundational piece of the MBA. These are courses that you will most likely take all of them by the time that you graduate. And this gives a really good start, a good foundation into that MBA experience. It is made up mostly by electives. But what's nice, I think, too, is that you start your core curriculum within a cluster. And so the cluster is about 70 to 75 students who take all of their core curriculum together. And this gives a good starting point where you have a built-in community, a smaller community within your bigger CBS community that you create really strong community bonds with in that first semester. And then through different student organizations and different classes, you get to expand that professional network with your peers. We have recently introduced formalized pathways now. So these are recommended pathways for selecting electives. These are the 17 pathways right here. And they're meant to guide students through their curriculum decisions for their professional success. Of course, at Columbia, we do believe that students should have the flexibility to choose whatever classes they would like to take, that any class that they think will benefit them and develop their skill set. And so we have a very flexible understanding of curriculum choices, but these pathways do help students guide through them and give a good foundation of what to expect for the 2 years to come. Now, the student experience is not just in the classroom, although that is an integral piece of the MBA, but it's also outside the classroom. It's also the connections that you make, the network that you develop over your 2 years. And so student organizations is a good way to start that network building, that connection building. So I'd say that our student organizations are typically divided into three main categories. The first is going to be that professional club. That's going to be very important to the recruiting process. So these are based around so many different industries. This is just a small sample here. So it's definitely not comprehensive. We have about 200 organizations on campus in total. But the professional clubs in particular partner with our Career Management Center. They guide students through both the recruiting for the internship as well as that full-time offer for after graduation. And they give that support and that really recent experience through that recruiting process to help guide students. We also have affinity clubs. These are both professional and social in nature. And they serve as important networks and as well as an important source of community on your time on campus. And so some examples are Columbia Women in Business is probably our largest affinity club. We also have a really large Black Business Student Association, a Veterans Club, a Hispanic Business Association, Asian Business Association, and so many more. And then finally, I'd say we have social clubs. These incorporate many different ones. But these are usually based around hobbies. So it's a good way to connect with your peers, maybe outside of your professional interests. And so the Gourmet Club is extremely popular, the Health and Wellness Club, the Art Society, the Running Club, the Rugby Club. There's so many more, but it's a good way to really build those connections outside of the classroom too. I do want to transition to briefly talk about a couple offices that you would engage with as a full-time MBA student. So the first is going to be that Office of Student Affairs. This is typically a one-stop shop for all of your registration needs, for your academic advising, for choosing those electives. And they also support the student organizations that we just talked about. So they provide guidance on building events and programming throughout the year. So this is a really important office for the different aspects of student life. And then I will say all students will engage with the Career Management Center. This is a really important center on campus for that professional development. So they have different layers of support for the professional development at CBS. So they have an alumni coaching program that, matches students with alumni across the world to coach through their professional journeys. We also have the Executives in Residence, which is a really unique program at Columbia Business School where we have 20 C-suite executives from different industries come and mentor our students one-on-one. So they bring really well-developed and expert perspectives to that guidance. We also have a full-time staff in the CMC, so we have professionals who are dedicated to helping advise you through your recruiting processes. And then finally, I'd say we have those second-year peer CMC fellows who just went through the recruiting process, and they're here to help you understand what to expect, what they've experienced during the recruiting process, and also talk through with a peer what you're looking to do next. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what we are looking for in the admission side, since I know that's what most of you are interested in today. And at Columbia Business School, we have a holistic admissions review process. Now, I know a lot of American schools throw the word holistic around quite a bit, so this is meant to give an insight into the three main buckets that we're looking for. So the first is going to be that academic history. We're going to take a look at your undergraduate transcript. We'll take a look at the courses you took. We'll take a look at graduate transcripts if you have them. And then we want to take a look at one score. We do not have a preference between the GMAT, the GRE, or the executive assessment. We take all three. And then together with that undergraduate record, we'll look at your academic preparedness for the rigor of the classroom here at CBS. And then because this is a business school, we do care so much about your professional promise. So we want to take a look at your professional resume. We want to look at what you've been up to in the years since you graduated from college, and see what your career trajectory has been up until now. We also want one letter of recommendation. So this will typically come from a direct supervisor. Of course, we know this is not always possible. So in the case that, maybe you're up for a promotion or you have a bonus on the line, or you haven't disclosed that you're going to business school, then I would say a past direct supervisor is usually best, or should be someone who knows and can speak to your professional capacity. So maybe a client or a peer in the workplace, but typically a supervisor either now or in the past is the best way to go. And then we also want you to concisely state your post-MBA goal, what you're looking to do right after you graduate, in about 50 characters. You'll have the chance to expand upon those professional goals in the essay, but I'll talk about that in a little bit. And then finally, we want to take a look at your personal characteristics. We want to know who you are. So this can be demonstrated through what you're involved in, the communities that you surround yourself with, the extracurriculars that you get involved with, either in your undergrad or now. Essays 2 and 3 are more behavioral, so that gives them some insight into you as well. And then finally, we really get to see those personal characteristics in action through the interview. I do want to note about the interview. It is by invitation only, and it is conducted entirely over Zoom. So no worries about, having to travel or anything like that. And the interview can be conducted by one of 3 different people. It'll most likely be conducted by an alumnus. It could be conducted by a second-year student, or it can be conducted by a member of the admissions team. And as I said, I did want to dive into the essays. So that first essay is really that chance to dive into your professional goals. So what are your professional goals, both short-term and long-term? And a little tidbit from admissions, how does an MBA factor into that? How does it get you to your next goals? Essay 2 is a little bit shorter. It's only 250 words. Our Phillips Pathway for Inclusive Leadership is a co-curricular program that was actually founded by 2 former students to help develop our students into inclusive leaders. The PPIL has identified 5 inclusive leadership skills. We want you to just pick one. Talk about one that you have implemented into your life, either in a personal or professional instance. And so that will give us an insight into what kind of inclusive leader you're hoping to become. And then finally, essay 3. This one's my particular favorite. I love reading this one. We know now why the MBA through essay 1, but why CBS? So this last essay is really about how you're going to co-create your optimal MBA experience, which means that, the MBA experience can look really different. You have a range of electives you can want to take. You can be part of way different clubs and have different career paths. And so what are you looking to take advantage of in your time at CBS? And also, what are you hoping to bring to CBS? What are you hoping to be a part of? And so this is a good chance to really dive into how your MBA experience would look. We have a couple short answer questions. They're just 50 characters, so really just a phrase. And this does differ by our entry point. So the January entry is going to be that post-MBA goal as well, but it's also going to be, why do you prefer the January entry term? Why is that a good fit for you? And then the August is, again, what's that immediate post-MBA goal? And then how do you plan to use the summer after your first year? So that for that full-time internship, what are you looking to do during that summer? Now, I do want to dive into the application processes for both January and August because they do differ a little bit. That January full-time MBA application is a rolling admissions process. So I know I have 2 rounds here. This is really more to give a timeline of when to expect next steps, when you might hear updates. But it is reviewed, once you submit that application. It's still a rolling process. Our final deadline for the January 2025 entry, which the application is open right now, the final deadline is August 15th, so it's coming up. And you would expect to hear a final decision back no later than October 15th. For the August 2025, so in about a year from now, we have 3 rounds that we review our applications through. So this is a rounds-based model, and we actually changed to a rounds-based model pretty recently to be aligned with our peer schools. So that first deadline is also coming up. It's going to be September 10th. And then final decisions will be released by December 20th. We have 2 more rounds, so we have one due at the beginning of January as well, and then a final deadline of April 1st. And so you can expect these relative timelines for these rounds in the upcoming year. Now, if you are also an American citizen, so if you hold dual citizenship, I also want to quickly talk about the Consortium. The Consortium is a third-party organization for promoting inclusive leadership, both in business education, but also business leadership around the globe and through different industries. They have a one application style. This application is sent to multiple schools, kind of like the Common App in undergrad. And if you're interested in this application style as well as their mission, and you had US citizenship, then I recommend taking a look at their website to learn more. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we do have some other degree options that I do want to briefly touch on. So we have that deferred enrollment program. That's for students who are in the last year of either an undergraduate or graduate degree who are looking to secure a spot in the MBA program. They know that they want to go to business school, but they want to gain some full-time work experience first. So they'll apply during their last year of the degree. They'll go and work for 2 to 5 years and then matriculate when they're ready. We also have a couple dual degree options that I want to highlight. So we have a 3-year JD MBA. That's a partnership with our Columbia Law School. We also have a partnership with the engineering school through our MBA XMS. And both of the deadlines for those programs are listed here. And then finally, we have an executive MBA program. This is a good option for folks who are looking to earn their degree while also working full time. And we have 3 different models for that. So we have a Saturday model, we have an alternating Friday, Saturday model, and then we also have a global model, which is a partnership with London Business School. So that can be a really great way to earn that executive MBA degree from both CBS and LBS. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and transition it. I know that we've been collecting some questions in the Q&A box. Feel free to drop more below, and then we will dive into those questions.
Awesome Thank you so much, Josie. And, I was like, okay, there are quite a few things that have changed, and this is so exciting. I think what I was really thrilled about is learning about the curriculum pathways because curriculums,
Yes.
yeah, because I think post MBA goals and industries, and it's getting so complex and so evolving pretty quickly. And the dean had said last year that all the curriculum is changing rapidly, and like you said, Columbia Business School always wants to be at the forefront of business research, and that's the part about Columbia which I absolutely loved. I enjoyed the academia at business school, and I think it just taught us to push boundaries, to think in innovative ways, and just be aware of your biases in business decision making. So I'm just, this was very insightful. Thank you so much. We have a lot of attendees, and I think there are some questions coming in, but I'm going to kick off with, one of my favorite questions. When I decided to go to business school, I mean, I was in love with New York. I literally fell in love with the city when I moved to the US. I was living in Jersey City, but most of my social life was in New York. And I said, if I have to go to business school, I will only go to a business school in New York. And I remember going to Columbia Business School and attending the camp. And I used to just go and hang out. I used to hang out on the campus. I would sit in, these club, there used to be open invitations to prospective applicants. So many of the, clubs used to organize many sessions. The Women in Business Club, for example, they would allow me to sit on any number of classes. And I said, what, I just think that, I belong here, right? And there was one other business school I had gone to, and I said, what, I think the choice is very clear in my head. So my favorite question, I think for every, and I always say that, that why CBS question is so important because everyone writes about New York, but no, how many times can an adcom really just read about Broadway and just the normal things, right? I mean that. So tell us about the unique New York advantage, which really sets CBS apart.
Yeah, well, I will say for myself, I never get tired of hearing about New York City. It's, one of the best cities in the world, if not the best. So I completely understand, and I think it's important that being in New York is a draw for students who want to be at Columbia Business School. Because New York is not for everyone, but it really is for people who are excited about being at CBS. But I think, yeah, there are really particular advantages to CBS that extend beyond the city itself, extend beyond its home. And I would say some of those that applicants in the past have highlighted is maybe the connections to different industry leaders. So whether that's a professor that they want to learn from who's been an expert in the industry that they're in, for example, maybe they want to really learn from Carrie Chan because they want to have a future in healthcare. Or they want to learn from Dan Wang and learn a lot more about entrepreneurship in tech. Whatever it is, they have a good idea of what they're going to be gaining from the classroom experience that would only be possible at CBS because of our world-class faculty. Maybe it's not that. Maybe it's having the connections here in New York City, the connections to the industries that they really want to be a part of and advance in the years following. I'd say that our location does give a lot of access. Students from other schools might have to take a plane or take a Amtrak to do interviews during recruiting season. Ours only had to take a subway ride, so it's really only 30 minutes at most. And I think that can be a real advantage. You can really connect with lots of different companies here in New York very quickly and very accessibly. But then also I'd say, we have different, features here to our community that really draw in applicants. Like you were saying, you came and you spoke with different organizations, you got to know our community, and I'm sure that that was a really important part of your decision making of knowing if you can see yourself on campus. I'm always impressed by the students we have here. They are really bright and smart, obviously, Columbia students. They're really motivated and have ambitious career goals. But they also, I think, are a very supportive community. They're very collaborative. They're really committed to helping each other realize their professional goals and lift each other up. And I think you see that really reflected into, um, how they work together. It's really baked in from the beginning. Actually, I didn't mention this, but in the core curriculum, you're put into learning teams of 5 people usually, and you complete all your homework assignments together. So even from the offset, it's a very collaborative, group-based process that I think is reflected, past that and even into the alumni experience, where alumni are very committed to helping each other around the world.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And it's just, like you said, there's just so much. And, the beauty of Columbia Business School is that you can experience the campus environment because it's little outside of main New York City and just a train ride. And, you are right in the middle of the hustle and bustle, whether it's
Yes.
East Village or Soho or, Times Square. I mean, Times Square is not really for locals, but just saying. Um, So we have a ton of questions. So I think I'm going to park my questions and I'm going to go to attendee questions. Okay.
Excellent.
All right. How does one get an application fee waiver at Columbia?
So the application fee waiver is available to students who are either full-time students, to applicants who are full-time students, to military service, as well as students who have refugee status. If you have any of those eligibility statuses, then you can go ahead and mark that in your application and you'll be given a waiver.
Is Columbia MBA STEM approved for getting 3-year OPT extension?
Yes, yes. No matter what pathway you take, whatever courses you take in the full-time MBA, it is STEM designated.
Is full-time work experience a hard requirement for MBA at CBS?
So we have no official minimum years of work experience. We don't, require a certain amount. But I will say that most applicants have between 3 and 8 years, and that would be by the time that they matriculate. So not the time that they submit the application, but the time that they would enter into classes. So I would keep that into consideration when you're deciding when and why the MBA.
Understood. Are there any double degree options with masters in finance?
So not a master's in finance because we have such a robust finance curriculum here at Columbia Business School anyway. But I will say, I did note, 2 different dual degrees that we have with the JD as well as the MS in applied engineering. But we also offer dual degrees across Columbia. Those 2 options are the only ones that we have a streamlined application that involves both schools in the review process. If you have a dual degree from any other school in Columbia, then it's just 2 different admissions processes, but it will cut down at least a semester in that overall time in the classroom. And so I know that popular one is students will get a degree from SEPA, which is our international affairs school. I've also seen students have dual degrees in the School of Dentistry and the School of Medicine. It really does depend on what they're looking to use the MBA for. But I did want to highlight that it's not just the JD and the MS, but really it can be personalized to your goals.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, I mean, this was back in the days, but there was an option for when we took electives, we could take, let's say, one, subject at any of the schools on campus. Is that still?
Yes, that is true. So if you are an MBA student, this does not count as a dual degree, but you have the option to take up to 6 credits in any school in Columbia. And that would, yes, you're right, that would count as an elective.
Yeah, that was very exciting. That was really amazing. Are we asked about what electives or major we want to take up during the application process itself?
So if you're looking maybe to I know some applicants want to kind of work on their quantitative skills, or maybe take some classes before they apply just to kind of prepare them academically. This is not required, and it's not a part of the official admissions review. It's because it's not one of the listed requirements. But if you are looking to do that, you can do it independently and send us the information, send it to our apply email if you would like. But that's totally up to you. We have no recommended source for, taking those courses. But I do know that for some people, it can be helpful to brush up on either those math skills or those Excel skills before they enter into the classroom.
Understood. Does a student, I think this is more or less like a follow-up question, but does a student necessarily have to complete a pathway, the curriculum pathways that you mentioned, or can they construct an individualized course program for them, which involves courses from across pathways?
Great question. Yeah, so the pathways are really just suggested pathways. You can look on our website now to look at the roadmaps for the curriculum pathways. This will give you a good sense of what electives are recommended. But if you want to really take an individualized approach and make sure that you're taking advantage of all the classes here that will offer the knowledge that you want to gain and the skills that you want to develop, that is completely available to you. And I'm sure that your academic advisor would be more than happy to discuss what particular classes interest you at Lang.
Great. I see that someone has raised his hand, but I would really appreciate if you just post your questions so that I can take all the questions in the order in which we're receiving this, right? Hello, my question is regarding the undergraduate degree. Should it be 3 years or 4 years?
It depends on the institution that you went to. So whatever it takes to earn a bachelor's degree is fine. We just want to make sure that we can see your completed bachelor degree in the transcript that you submit.
Great. Hi, Josie. Thank you for your insights today. I see the application asks for a primary and secondary area of focus. Is there a way to indicate interest in following a pathway in this section?
Sorry, in which section? Would you mind repeating it?
They're asking that the application form, I assume they're talking about the application form. It asks for a primary and secondary area of academic focus. Is this where you indicate your, interest in a particular pathway?
Yeah, I would say so. Typically because these pathways are based around different, industry areas. So this is where I would let us know which focus area you want to be studying primarily in. And yeah, that I would say that's a good way to indicate that.
Understood. Also, just curious that, see, not everyone works with MBA admissions consultants. And the reason that we do, these sessions is so that those who are working on their own hopefully have access to, information to craft an application on their own. So if anyone is working on their own and they have questions about the application, hey, I don't know what to write in this section of the application form versus A section or B, who should they reach out to at Columbia?
If you are not sure and you have any questions, I would highly recommend, I'm going to go ahead and share it in the chat for everyone.
Yeah.
Our email. We are happy to answer any questions you might have about the application.
Yeah, guys, please note down the email. I'm also, I hope you guys can see it. And what we will do is, when we send a follow-up email after this webinar, we will make sure we include this, email in, include the
Excellent.
email address in the email to everyone. Yeah. Someone has asked, hi, when do we hear back for interview invites if you apply in round 1 for August 2025 intake? So Josie already spoke about this. She said that, interview invites will be on a rolling basis and they will be sent up to November 15th for the first round 1 intake. So up to November 15th, it'll be on a rolling basis. So you can hear anytime and it's by invitation only. So she addressed that as a part of the presentation. All right.
Yes. Thank you, Preeti.
Sure. So this is a rather long question. Hello, Josie. Please, can you give us more insight into how much of an impact the Career Management Center of Columbia has had with regards to international students and how different is the support provided there from the lifetime one-on-one advising, which is mentioned in the career support section?
Sure. Okay, so the Career Management Center is really where it houses all of those avenues of support. But I will say there is a full-time staff, and multiple members are specifically dedicated to those international job prospects. So they keep updating and building connections with partners and offices around the world, and they help place our international students or our domestic students who are looking to work internationally into different positions. I will say that the recruiting process is at the end of the day up to the student to put their effort forward. It is a lot of what you put in is what you get out. But the Career Management Center is there to help build those connections and also help refine what you're looking for. And I would say I think you mentioned the lifetime access. So
Lifetime one-on-one advising, which is mentioned in the career support section.
yes, yes. So our alumni actually have lifetime access to our Career Management Center. So you're not just eligible for advising once you're a student on campus, but anytime in your career that you're looking to speak with some advisors, help build those connections, you will be able to. You have that access, and you also have the lifetime access to the digital platform that's available for our students through CMC as well.
Yeah, that's called Coin, right?
Yes.
I still remember that. It was amazing. It was really amazing. All right. So I'm not going to take up questions which are very specific to individual applicants because, hey, I'm so and so, and that's, please check the email which Josie has shared with everyone, and please ask specific questions at that email. I'm going to take questions which are, which can address broad audience questions as well. Hey, background of working professionals. Are there opportunities to work with them in a RA or a TA position? So I'll let Josie take that, but honestly, you can go on the website and I think, you can read about each and every professor. Every single course information is given on Columbia's website. It's not
Yes. And the short answer is yes. We have different research positions available. We also have different TA positions available. I know it's very common for students to develop relationships with different professors and become a TA later on in their experience. I'd say my biggest advice there is making sure that you connect with your professor as well you can. And sorry, it froze for a second. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Sorry for that.
Okay, great. No, I apologize. I don't know if it was my end or whatever the connection was, but in response to your question, there's many different opportunities to work alongside professors, either as a teaching assistant or in their research space. So as a student, make sure that you develop those connections with professors and keep an eye out on your emails for open opportunities.
Yeah, I remember I did a teaching assistantship with Professor Iyengar. I had done a research project actually with
Oh, wow.
yeah, Professor Sheena Iyengar. She was amazing. There's this big five personality assessment that she was working with, and I had worked with someone from her office on just fleshing some examples out in the corporate world, and that was very exciting. I was also a TA for Professor Hitendra Vadva's class, which was on personal leadership. So that's what I'm saying. Leadership development was a very core area of focus of interest for me. So I'd done
Yes.
these assistantships, and they're exciting. They're interesting. The professors are so giving, right? I mean, they're so open to discussions, and yeah. There's also a course called Napoleon's Glance, which I think the class is like huge and it's so popular and it's amazing. I still
Yes,
use
this one's still popular today.
I know I still use anecdotes from that class. I mean, I remember, they're like things he used to say. He used to be like, when don't think out of the box, just look into other boxes. And that was so cutting edge. And it's just amazing how he looked at innovation. Anyway, so someone is saying, thank you so much for the informative session. So that's for you, Josie. All right.
Of course, thank you for having me today.
All right. Someone is asking, please describe the community. Generally, it is asked in the application.
Sure. I touched a little bit earlier on, the traits that I think are a through line for our students, which are being, very intelligent, very motivated, but also very supportive of one another, very collaborative. But I think, you're an alum, you can give a firsthand account. How would you characterize the Columbia Business School community, Preeti?
See, it's a very how do I put it? It's very personal, right? I mean, see, there were always these three aspects to the whole MBA experience. One was academia, second was networking, and the third was, pursuing your career goals, right? I mean, so networking with companies and giving interviews and stuff like that. I was truly interested in academia. In fact, some of my classmates might be like, she was so poor at networking, she would not go out as much. But I was so mesmerized with the curriculum. It was so different from, the kind of rote learning that I was exposed to back in India. I was a chartered accountant from India. I had done my CPA from the US, but I had a long working experience, about 8 years. And it was a very different approach. And that approach to learning was so refreshing. So for me, I think Columbia and New York, which is why I asked that whole New York question, that, went very much hand to hand, hand in hand. There was no pressure to fit in. There was no pressure that I had to be a certain way or, adapt to this specific culture. We all were very diverse, very unique. The class size was small, and still, there was a great level of, intimacy during classroom discussions, yet there was a lot of spacing, right? I mean, you could be yourself. When you stepped out of classroom, you could just get lost in the crowd of New York, or, you could just, hang out on campus, in those smaller groups and, deepen those relationships. So I felt like, it's one of those programs which just has something for everyone. And, it's if you are a if you are someone who appreciates, I think, diversity, someone who appreciates a wider
Yes.
culture, because New York has something to offer for, to everyone. So I think you will, and like, this is why I think I like what you said at the beginning, that, New York is not for everyone. It's really not for everyone. Now, in fact, when I go to New York, I get tired now. Now I go and I'm like, I don't know how I enjoy this place, because now it's very tiring.
Yes, it's huge, it's fast-paced, it's extremely diverse, and we do want that to see that reflected in our students as well. And I think something I'll touch on too, what you were saying reminded me of. Since you graduated, we actually built a new campus for our business school. So we have a new campus in Manhattanville that is about, a 15-minute walk from the main campus. So it's very close, it's one stop away. But it's become the new home for business school students, and you'll see that it's really tight in the sense of community on campus. Everyone that you're, engaging with is part of the business school in some way. It's increased our classroom space and increased our space for conferences and events, so we can continue building out those professional opportunities and the research opportunities. But I think, that gives a good home base. As Preeti was saying earlier, New York is a high energy city, but it does depend on the area. And so I'd say the Manhattanville area is a little bit quieter of an area that's, uptown. And so you have that, you can be with your classmates and your peers there on campus. But you also have the opportunity to go anywhere else in the city and take advantage of that. So, maybe after class, you and your friends from class will go and see a Broadway show or go to a Knicks game. And you'll go downtown for that. But I think that gives a good home for our students in our new campus.
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of being at Columbia Business School. You get the quieter campus environment, you get the isolation when you want, you get the bustling city life when you want. So, everything is just literally a train ride away. Great.
Yes.
How important is having a brand on the resume? Is there a basis for known brands?
I'd say it's more important to show what your professional impact has been, what your professional development has been. We see so many different, career trajectories. We see so many different backgrounds. I know that we often have this kind of reputation for as a finance school, just because of our relationship and proximity to Wall Street. And we definitely do have a really robust finance system or department. But we also see so many different industries represented at Columbia. So we see retail and luxury goods, real estate, entrepreneurship in different areas of family business. We see media and tech and entertainment. So really many different industries. And with that comes really different backgrounds and not just, big brands, but really developed careers, maybe at boutiques, firms, or also very non-traditional backgrounds. We've had students who have been Broadway dancers and opera singers and also professional athletes. So it really differs, but showing that impact, showing that leadership that you've had at your workplace, and then also having a good sense of why an MBA. How is this going to help you into your next steps? Why is this an integral piece that I need for pursuing what I want to achieve? That's what we care more about.
Understood. Someone has asked, I work for my family business. Do you think I will fit in for this particular course? I think Josie already spoke about the J term, and you should look more into the J term, because she did speak about family business folk and entrepreneurs and startup founders who can basically just extend their knowledge and
Yes.
have an academic focus. Yeah.
Yeah, I would take a look at our Global Family Enterprise program on our website. Again, yes, we mostly see family business in our January entry, and you can take a look at what would be a good fit for you. But that would be a good starting place to see the different program offerings and different curriculum offerings that they have there.
Understood. What is the average GMAT score amongst Indian applicants? Trick question. Also, what are some common mistakes in essays and interviews?
Good question. So I don't have the answer offhand on what the average GMAT score is for Indian applicants. I do know that it's a 730 overall. And that does differ year to year, but you can take a look at our class profile if you'd like to see more stats. But some common mistakes, I guess, with essays in particular. One I see sometimes with essay 2, which is the inclusive leadership one, is sometimes applicants think that they need to demonstrate all 5 skills. And I think with so little space, that waters it down a bit. I think just really dive into one and really showcase one skill. So that's one tip I would have. Another tip I'd say just generally is do your research for all your MBA programs that you're looking at. Do your research, know why that school would be a good fit for you, why it would, help with your particular goals. And that's going to show up both in the essays and in the interview process. You really want to have those answers prepared for your interview of why an MBA, why now, why CBS, or why another program if you're applying there. And I think too, another good interview tip is be on time. I know that it's, there's a lot of technical issues, so try to log on early. And have questions prepared for your interviewer as well. Be ready to talk about their experience in the Columbia community because they're going to have some connection there. But it's not it's not a trick question. There's no tests or assignments in the interview. It's really just a good chance to build a relationship with someone that you're meeting and talk about your common interest in Columbia and, your goals for the MBA. So it's a good opportunity to do so.
Great. And I know that's such an important question, and such, the way you addressed it, that, do your research, because I remember I was moderating a session like this at one of the AGAC panels. And I think I was talking to one of the admissions officer. I think it was FUPA, Michigan Ross. I don't remember, but I remember, yeah, it was Michigan Ross. I was talking to Diana Economy, and she had mentioned that, over my years in academia and admissions, the most successful applicants I have seen are the ones who are most invested. So yes, you have to make that effort to do the research and do the groundwork. I mean, that's I
You
think
do, yes.
yeah. What kind of work experience will the admissions team be looking for? Like technical experience or managerial experience or social work or anything specific?
I'd say all of the above. Really, whatever your experience has been, we want to know what you've been up to. And we want to know how that will translate into your future success. And so I'd say if you have managerial experience, definitely highlight that. If you have technical skills that you want to highlight, please do so. Your resume is really a great opportunity to customize it to whatever your experience has been.
Is there any forum for applicants to check the post-MBA career opportunities available near CBS? I mean, I could answer a part of that question that,
Yeah,
every
please.
has employment reports on their website. You should check the employment reports, for the last year or so, I think, and that will give you an idea of the kind of recruiters who have come to campus. And Josie, what would you add to that?
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good first step. I'd say maybe another step if you're interested in hearing about personal experiences, as we do have a contact a student portal on our webpage where you can have the information of some of our current students. So you might be able to talk to them maybe about their recruiting process that they're undergoing.
Yeah.
And some of the companies that they're talking to now. But I'd say if you want the full report, the employment report on our website is the best bet.
Great. There's a question on undergraduate, which I'm not going to take because this is an MBA webinar. All right. Columbia has an amazing alumni network. I agree. I would love to understand how current students are able to connect with alumni base. And also you mentioned in the session about alumni coaching program. Will be great to hear more on how that exactly works.
Yeah, of course. So I'd say that alumni are, involved in the entire life cycle of CBS. So they help interview applicants during the admissions phase. They engage in the coaching program during when students are on campus as full-time students. And to touch a little bit more on that, you can be matched with an alumnus that is kind of matches your criteria, maybe like the kind of work experience you're looking to learn more about, maybe the area of the world you're looking to learn more about the, professional sphere there. And so that gives a good like one-on-one chance to talk with an alumnus. And there's, you can make multiple appointments through the CMC. And then finally, at the end, when students graduate, they're welcomed with open arms into the different alumni organizations across the world. We have alumni organizations pretty much in every major city around the globe. And I actually have just been doing some traveling, so I've gotten to see some of the alumni networks in Southeast Asia, actually. And I know this is just one example of all of the alumni organizations around the world, but it was amazing to see how tight-knit the community was, how they really enjoyed connecting with each other, the different, opportunities that having those connections have opened up for one another. They talked about, their relationships, both personally, how they had attended a couple of their like mutual weddings, but also the professional doors that they opened. So I think that really does give an overview that it's a pretty lifetime experience of being an alumnus at CBS, and you'll always have that community wherever you are.
Yeah, I agree. Um, how important is your undergrad GPA in the application?
So I'd say that we are going to look at your GPA. It's one data point of many that we're looking across your application. And of course, we are very aware that the scales of different GPAs differ across different areas of the world. So we're going to take a look not just at your GPA, but also at the courses themselves. So we want to take a look at what your academic history has been. And then even just the academic side, again, is one piece of the puzzle. And we just want to know who you are, what you've been up to, and what you're excited to bring to your MBA experience.
Understood. I think in the interest of time, I'm just going to take last two questions because we have like some 68 open questions. We're not going to be able to do all of these. All right. One of them is you mentioned August intake has approximately 700 students and Jan has approximately 200 students. Does that mean Jan is more selective?
I would say it's pretty similar levels of selectivity. Really, the reason that January is smaller is it's a more particular pathway. It's a unique option for different kinds of careers. And so it's not going to be the right fit depending on for some people. So if you're looking to make a major career change, you're looking to switch industries, the January option may not be the best fit for you. But if you are looking to stay in the same industry, if you're looking to maybe scale the venture that you're working on, it could be an excellent fit because you don't lose the opportunity cost of working. You get to earn your same degree on an abbreviated schedule, and you get to dive into the MBA experience, and you still build all those connections. Um, so it really more depends on the career goals that you have.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, I said one last question, but I think one of them is probably very short, so we can take two. Are we expected to have a job offer in hand before the decision release for deferred MBA applicants?
So deferred applicants for the deferred enrollment or for,
Yeah, the deferred MBA.
yes, okay.
They need to have a job offer in
Yeah,
hand.
so what would happen is the process is you would apply typically around April, and then you would have that admissions process from, April to June. Once you receive a decision, if you're offered admission, you then can hold on to that offer admission for 2 to 5 years while you work. If you're not offered admission, you'll then go on to work anyway. But if you are offered admission, you have that guaranteed spot that then you can matriculate later when you're ready and you feel that you have gained enough work experience that you're ready for the next steps of an MBA.
Wonderful. And the last and final question, and this is something we get asked a lot. What can we do to stand out from the crowd when applying from an overrepresented demographic, for example, Indian male?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'd say what's most important at the end of the day, and I really do believe this, it's not just me saying it, is having a very clear sense of your goals and what you're looking to do. I think the goals should be both ambitious but realistic, having a good sense of what an MBA can really do for you. Because at the end of the day, that's what I really care about. When I'm reviewing applications, I care about making sure that this experience is going to be as beneficial as possible for your success. And so having, really thought out essays, maybe have a friend read over them to make sure they sound like you so we get a real sense of who you are and what you're looking to achieve. That's what I'm looking for, and I think you should spend the most time refining in your application process.
Great, wonderful. That is, I think, amazing last, words of wisdom. Well, Josie, thank you so much for your time. I'm so grateful that you did this with us. I'm sure, in a month's time, I know it's summer for you guys, so, doing this on a Friday morning. But
Thank you for taking a Friday evening. As you said before, I know there's so many questions that I didn't get to, and so I just wanted to put our contact information up on the page. So feel free to send those questions here. But thank you so much, Preeti, for having me. It was great to hear about your experience at Columbia, but also share that with all of you in the audience.
I agree. This was a lot of fun. Thank you so much, Josie, and everyone, wherever you're joining from, please, send your questions, to CBS. There's so much about Columbia Business School. So do take the time, there's still a month to just explore and do your research, and wish everyone all the very best for your applications. And Josie, wish you a lovely day and a lovely weekend.
Thank you too.